We just finished watching some videos about leaks and predictions from some creators here on YouTube about Pokemon Day. It will happen tomorrow on the 27th of February, 2 p.m. UK time. And I've seen a lot of hope. A lot of creators are expecting something good from Pokemon. I think Generation 10 is giving that feeling because Gen 8 and Gen 9 were like the first steps, the baby steps. And Gen 10 will not be made having the Switch one in consideration. So more powerful hardware, more experienced team, more budget as well. New engines were leaked and whatnot. So I think in terms of graphics and performance, it will be a good game. I want it to be a very good game, but let's keep it real. It will be a good game when it comes to the details and whatnot, I think. And there was a lot of leaks about mechanics and whatnot, but what really grasped my attention was certain parts of the leaks where it talked about procedural generation on island. The legendary Pokemon will change depending on how you play the game, so that aspect will change too, the way it evolves might change as well, so everybody will have unique playthroughs and unique legendary Pokemons because of the procedural generation nature of the game, which is very cool. Will give more uniqueness and individuality to every single save file. That will be very good for content and to share it online as well. And a big thing is as well, there was a new project being mentioned that was not included in the leaks because there was very big leaks about Gen 10, and that new project might be revealed tomorrow as well. So some people are speculating, of course. What I've seen just one content creator talking about, maybe of course he was not the only one making the video, but the one that I watched, it was only him, was about a new Pokemon MMO, or at least a big Pokemon game where you can go from Kanto to Johto to O1 and then to Sinnoh, so you can explore the first four regions all in one game. That will be very cool as well. So like that new project could be super interesting, and that new project it's not going to be Gen 10, it's going to be its own game. So that's very interesting as well on its own way. And yeah, I'm also expecting big things from Gen 10. I'm very excited for the direct tomorrow. I'm still a bit holding my foot back because of the performance issues and because of the money grabbing nature that Nintendo has assumed recently. But I think Pokemon will go back to their magic. I have hopes that Gen 10 will be the next leap into Pokemon. Pokemon will go into a new phase where it will evolve and expand what the games can do and what you can do in the games, for sure. I'm expecting that. I think they will take risks. I think they'll do different things, get out of the formula even more. And also very important is that some of the little franchises like Pokemon Unite, their announcements that usually are in the Pokemon Directs, were already announced. Some of those things, including the remakes, the reintroduction or the introduction to the Nintendo Switch line of Fire Red and Leaf Green, those were made out of the present. And this present will be 25 minutes, the biggest together with the 2023. So that means they have more time to show more important stuff. So I'm hoping huge Copium for Gen 10, another possible big project, a spin-off like new Pokemon Ranger or a Mystery Dungeon, you know what I'm saying? Because now you can use actually the remotes of the Nintendo Switch as mice, so you can now do the spinning thing of Pokemon Ranger, because before I thought it would be very difficult, almost impossible to bring Pokemon Ranger into the Nintendo Switch because you have no way to do that playstyle, because that game style was from the Nintendo DS, where you had a second screen that was touch screen, so you could do that. But now with the controls working as mouse, you can do that. And I'm also thinking about a new Pokemon Legends being announced, or at least some hints about it, because the thing is, we had Pokemon Legends EA very recently, but there are already some leaks about the new Pokemon Legends, and my thoughts are that Pokemon Legends EA was the last game made having the Nintendo Switch One in consideration, being more limited. And they were already working on games that only had in consideration only were made for the Switch 2. So even though Legends ZA came out in October and we're now in February, that other game could already be announced because it was already being worked on at the same time as ZA was being worked on, because they were in two different sides of the company, or in two different teams maybe, with two different perspectives. Also, I'm totally expecting Pokemon Champions announcement, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure they will show a bit more of Poketopia. I just really expect that game. I just really wish that that game is not very expensive, because I want to play it. It seems fun, but I don't want to drop 70, 80 bucks for it. Of course, new TCG announcement, new trading card game announcement, new expansions, maybe new dynamics for that as well. Ooh, you know what would be interesting to have? Some remakes for the Switch 2, like even maybe Red and Blue for the Switch 2, not Let's Go, like really remakes of Red and Blue. It could be very cool as well, remakes from Johto, Pokemon Soul Silver and Heart Gold on the Switch 2. Bro, and you know what? I have this wild dream of mine. So imagine when I become really, really rich or I have connections with a lot of money, I would pay Nintendo to do this. That's my wild dream, which is for them to do like Pokemon Nuzlocke, quote unquote, or do Nuzlocke modes for your Pokemon games where they support the Nuzlocking community instead of shunning it because the Nuzlocke community doesn't play the game the way Nintendo wants it to be, which is totally acceptable. It's their IP at the end of the day, but they could see that there is a big audience for that is really passionate because the Nuzlocke mode brings a lot of passion and a lot of interest to the gameplay. And then they could make like Pokemon Blue, but then you can have infinite rare candies, you can have access to like make it really, really a lot of quality of life choices. And then it has level caps. Maybe you can have a huge list of modifiers that you can apply to your Nuzlocke, for an example. And then they could even do their own Pokemon game where it's Nuzlocke. It's a whole story. Of course, it can be short and whatnot, where Pokemon, they don't die, but it's like you can use them again in battle. It's like the rules of that Pokemon League to preserve the physical health or the mental health of Pokemon that are defeated, that you can just use them anymore. Or maybe you have certain things in the game that bring them back or whatever. Like, I don't know. That's my wild dream, is for Nintendo to accept and incorporate within their franchise the Nuzlocking community. I think that's a extreme copium, but it's my dream as a Pokemon enjoyer, as a Pokemon lover, as a Pokemon content creator, that I do Nuzlocks myself, and I watch a lot of Nuzlocke content. I really like it. It's one of my favorite contents to watch on the internet. It would be very cool for Nintendo to embrace it and accept that some people really like Pokemon for the game that it is, not for the Pokemons itself, but of course also not because of the lore, not because of the franchise in itself, but because the core gameplay mechanics with the typings, with the abilities, with imagine grass type Pokemon being immune to powder moves. That's very interesting, right? So Pokemon has great mechanics, and a lot of people like to play Pokemon because how difficult it is, or how difficult it could be if the trainers were stronger, there was more strategy put into the teams that you face through the games. So that's my wild dream. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm not saying this will be announced in tomorrow's Direct. Nothing, it's just like, that's my wild dream. That's what I wish Nintendo could do as a very cool move, but I think they will not do it, to be honest. But maybe they will get more personalized and they'll try to connect more with their audiences. And it's just like, it will show that they're cool. They will show it's a cool move. But coming back to Pokemon Day tomorrow, oh, I just thought that maybe you can have like a movie announced, a movie or new special animation to celebrate the 30th anniversary. Maybe that will be a part of the direct. I just don't want any concerts, with the celebrities and famous singers. Just keep it cool, keep it Pokemon, keep it personalized. Of course, they're gonna talk about Gen 10. Maybe they will introduce like a new sort of Pokemon conquest, like a fusion of Pokemon and Fire Emblem. And that reminded me of the fusion of Pokemon and Tekken, Pokken Tournament DX. What if they announce a new Pokken? Now, I'm just high on Copium here right now, I'm just floating in the Copium verse, but because I really enjoy Pokken. Imagine they made a new one, that would be crazy. Because Pokken used to be in the Pokemon tournaments, in the Pokemon worlds and whatnot. That would be insane. Pokken 2, that would be pretty cool. But now back to reality. Gen 10, the new project, maybe the new project will not be mentioned here, right? Because it's like TCG, Gen 10, maybe they will announce Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games into the Nintendo Online system. Maybe one new spin-off or a reinvention of a spin-off. Mystery Dungeon, Ranger, Snap, Conquest. I think they will bring a spin-off back, and I really want, but I think it's not so likely to have like a remake or a third version like we just watched on a previous video, Pokemon Gray from Pokemon Black and White, Pokemon Emerald, Pokemon Delta, Pokemon Delta Emerald, right? Instead of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Delta Emerald. Yo, that could be cool. Or like Pokemon, we had Sword and Shield, Pokemon Spear or something, Pokemon Claymore. Like a third version of an already existing generation. So yeah, final, like, that I'm almost sure it will happen, predictions. Gen 10, a new spin-off, TCG, maybe something for Pokemon Go, and I think that's what I'm really sure about. Gen 10 and a new project or a new remake. I'm really sure about those. Like a new mainline game, and then a spin-off, a third version, or a new way to play Pokemon, maybe the Pokemon MMO, like Galarian Gold here on YouTube was talking about. And then more speculative, and then of course TCG is in there, of course, it has to be there. More speculative, an anime or a movie, or Pokemon Ranger, for example, because I think Pokemon Ranger is very hard to bring back to the Switch, but they can do it. And the Copium is Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Conquest, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think those are my predictions, speculations for Pokemon Present. I'm really excited. I'll be live here on the channel watching it, and I hope you join here as well. Thank you for watching. See you on the next time.